Nothing will snap you back to reality faster than getting off of a ship into the port of Galveston and those Houston allergies hitting you, and all of a sudden, boom! Vacation over. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with not exactly a weekly update. Call this more of a check-in, because I'm not going to use my normal format that I would for a weekly update, even though I did miss it because I was out of the country. But yes, guys, we are back from our vacation. We went to Key West and 3 stops in the Bahamas over 8 days on a Carnival cruise line. It was a lot of fun. Lots of fun in the sun and food and drinks and all of that stuff. The food was a big bad one because, guys, I think I probably gained about 15 pounds on that trip. I mean, I'm sucking it in for you guys right now. Yeah, so I could do this video. But, yeah, I got an allergy attack as soon as I got off the ship. Got home, took one of those tests. You know which test I'm talking about. Wasn't that. But as you can hear the voice, it sounds like I smoked a cigar for 4 days. That's what my voice sounds like when I have an allergy attack. So it was like literally, we're walking off the gangway and like my eyes start itching. I'm like, wow, well, I guess I'm home. So, yeah. Houston, Galveston, it will snap you back to reality super, super fast and let you know that your vacation has come to a close, guys. And now I've kind of got that I need a vacation from my vacation feeling. So I did take, Monday off here because you want a nice day to kind of recover after a trip like that. And, yeah, so I go back to work tomorrow, and that should be very, very exciting. But, guys, I do have some things I want to talk about with this trip. One of those, obviously, is what I read while on that trip. I know there's lots of people who were curious about how much reading I was going to get done on this, guys, because we went, just my wife and I. We had no kids. We had 4 stops, but we had 4, sea days, which is just, nothing but just hanging out on the boat. So I got lots of reading in, guys. That is how I finished Dragonhaven by Robin Hobb. I actually did finish on time in July. So I read this first to get it out of the way in July. Did not finish War and Ruin for my July books. But other than War and Ruin, I got all of my July reads in at the last moment. Guys, this book, Dragonhaven, part of me is like my mama taught me not to say anything nasty. Just keep it to myself. But I also know you guys want to know how I feel about it. I'm going to be honest. It's more of the same, yet somehow worse than Dragon Keeper was. I don't know how, but this is by far the worst book in the Realm of the Eldlings yet. I would read Assassin's Quest 5 times in a row before I read this book ever again. Even her character work is suffering now, which is amazing, because it's always one thing you can count on with Miss Hobb, is if the story is hidden, at least you feel like the character work is hitting. And it's not just because they're horny teenagers. I mean, that's a big part of it. It's just, man, I feel like I'm reading a CW show, and it's just like, this isn't like her at all. I mean, they're just chilling on a boat, trying to get laid while we wait forever to get to our destination. So we've had 2 of these thick-ass books now of just trying to get to this mythical homeland. It's just like, wow, I can't believe this is like Golden Fool all over again. Like, we're going to talk about what we're going to do, but we're never actually going to get there. Look, guys, this was DNF the series bad if I didn't have prior commitments. And I'm going to stick it out because I have heard this is as low as it goes, and I hope that that is accurate. But yeah, this is as bad as advertised, guys. I think it is without a doubt comparable to The Slog and Wheel of Time, as very much what I would call Rain Wilds. Because these first 2 books, I think maybe only Path of Daggers was something that I hated more than this. It was really, really rough, guys. And I've heard that City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons gets better, and I'm hoping that is correct. At least they are shorter. I want to say that those 2 books combined are shorter than the live ship book, and thank God, because right now, not only am I not invested in these characters, I don't even care if they live or die, really. I mean, I have no interest in these characters. Somehow it's made dragons boring, and I can't even believe that we're doing that. So, guys, yeah, it's a big, big letdown, but I am going to keep going. Thankfully, guys, the first book I picked up in the month of August was pretty good. Babylon's Ashes is the one that gets a lot of flack, I think. It always seems to be routinely at the bottom when people rank the Expanse books. And I think that kind of helped set my expectations in a way that I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it much more than my expectations that were set for it. I mean, sure, there's still a lot of problems. I mean, there's way too many POVs. You know what I said? What I love about Nemesis games is it was focused on just the 4 main characters of the Rocinante. It was great. It was paced perfectly. There was at least a half dozen, or about a dozen POVs, rather. Way too many chapters about Pa. I had no interest in this character. I want to believe this is the one that they kind of recycled some of these storylines and gave him to Drummer on the TV show. Drummer's a much more interesting character than this. So I wasn't really crazy about Paul. It was really cool to see Prax again. I love seeing Prax again. That was really cool. The action was good. I mean, I didn't really have real complaints with that. Officer Rala was awesome, as always. I was glad to see more of her finally in this book, and Bobby. So I like seeing a lot of those characters, but I'll be honest, the final conflict with the Free Navy, kind of a letdown. Kind of ended with a whimper, after all this big build-up, to a point where this book felt very transitory, between Nemesis Games and book number 7. Or almost, I think I'd better describe it, almost kind of feels like the leftovers or the epilogue of Nemesis Games, which is weird because you do get a resolution, to that big battle. But something felt missing, and I think it was a big part of it was that Nemesis Games was just so perfect. I mean, it was everything that the series had been angling to. It was so damn good. And this one was fine. It was fine. I don't hate it. And again, if this is the worst that the series has to offer, I think it's going to be an all-timer for sure, because I've heard books 7, 8, 9 are incredible. They're incredible books. So I'm anxious to get there. If this, like I said, if this is the worst, I've gotten past the worst, well, then I am very anxious for what is going to happen next. So my continued main complaint with this series is just I wish they would just stick, Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham would just kind of stick to some core POVs, because I don't like getting new POV characters every book. I feel like it does a good job at making the world feel bigger. I appreciate that. But it seems like most of the time it's just these characters I'm not really interested in, and I want my Rocinante crew. I'm happy that I've gotten this far, but again, I didn't feel like book 6 was nearly as bad as everyone said it is. And I'm excited for next month, because 7 is supposed to be really, really, really good. Now, guys, I started this before I left, and it just a monster. About past halfway point, I think chapter 45 or so. Guys, this is spectacular, which is incredible, because not only is it just because it's a beast of a book, you don't expect that. What he's doing in this is he's got about 9 different storylines going on, 9 different groups of characters and storylines, and he's shoveling them perfectly. I feel like I'm never to a point where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could get back to this character. I feel like he's balancing it really, really well. And the most amazing thing, guys, is there's not a single one of the storylines I'm not digging. I'm liking every single one of them. I don't feel like there's been a bad chapter so far. I'm to the point of like anxiety, waiting for 2 characters to interact again, because I feel like one character is being poisoned against another, and I'm anxious to see how it actually, anxious is in like nervous excitement. Like I want to see them, but I'm afraid it won't go as well as I think it will, and everybody says that the second half of this book's even better. So Ryan's just a wizard, man. I don't know how he's doing this. How is he pulling off this many characters? Because a lot of times I feel like you would get unfocused if you're messing around with that many groups at once. And I gotta say, I feel like this is the best I've seen it done since like A Storm of Swords, which is my favorite fantasy book of all time. So this is incredible. I hope it continues this pace in the second half. I feel like he's never wasting a moment with characters. He's making me care about a lot of these side characters that I wasn't into before. He's really starting to differentiate a lot of them, because there are a ton of characters in the series, guys. But he's making me feel like I'm getting a lot out of the villains now. I'm getting a lot out of the Dragon Guard and stuff now. I'm like, wow, I don't know if I can really call them villains at this point. I mean, again, I think you have your rooting interest, but he does a good job of pulling back the layers on some of those villains and letting you see their point of view, where you can see they definitely don't think they're the bad guys. And it's kind of hard to argue on some things. But getting a lot of context to Farda, to Eltor, people like that is really, really awesome. I'm loving it. There are some characters in the Dragon Guard that completely surprised me with some of their decisions, and I'm here for it, man. I'm loving this ride. It's never once felt like, oh God, this book is so long. Yeah, I've taken a little while with it. I've read 2 books in between starting it, but that was a choice. I feel like I want to kind of make this last. I'm never once feeling like, oh God, I got to read something else. Just on the trip, I felt like, hey, I'm going to bounce around. I've got all kinds of time. And Of War and Ruin, guys, it is amazing. It is amazing, and I hope it continues this path, because if it does, it's going to be the best book in the series, bar none, not even a question. So if you've been waiting, guys, I say go ahead and do it. You're going to love it, because I think The Ice comes out here either this month or next, and that's the next novella, before we probably get the next massive tome within the next year or 2 from Mr. Cahill. So, big question I've been gotten is, how was the trip? I mean, obviously, you go to a trip like that, it's amazing. I think it's rather amazing that it's been so hot in Houston this summer that you had to go to the Caribbean to get a cool down in the weather. I've never been so happy for 89 and only like 40% humidity in my life. But we had a great time in Key West, Florida. I mean, Key West was on our bucket list. It was nice. It was very, very hot, though. I mean, it was very similar to here. Very hot. We got to go to the Ernest Hemingway house. That was really cool. Where he wrote some of his biggest hits ever at that house, and you got to see his cats and things. You got these cats that have like 6 toes. It's a really nice place, but it's a really nice piece of history. I've only read 2 Ernest Hemingway books. So I wouldn't call myself like a super fan of nothing, but obviously I respect the history of something like that. And it was a really, really cool place. And even though again it was very hot, we had a great time there. We got to see Southernmost Point. We got to go to Mile Zero, all that stuff. Freeport, Bahamas was stop number 2. We went to the Grand Lucayan, and we had a day pass to that resort, and we had like a 1 mile long infinity pool. It was absolutely amazing. We had great weather. It was just beautiful, guys. I mean, it's just one of those things, you look out the ocean, you're just like, man, that's absolutely amazing. But it was nothing for what came next. We went to Half Moon Cay. Now, I say Key. Other people say K. I say Key. But that was the most amazing beach I have ever been on in my life, guys. My wife now, we've been on a bunch of beaches in the Caribbean, and they're just, they're amazing. And I said I didn't think anything could beat Montego Bay. This blew it away, guys. This was the most amazing water I had ever seen. And me, Mr. Afraid of the Ocean, actually got neck deep out in that water. It was so nice. You can see the fish like swimming past your legs. And these pictures, guys, they're not Photoshop. I have people like, oh, that's shopped or docked. No filter. That's what it looks like. And that isn't even giving you an idea of how amazing it is, guys. It is so clear. You can see straight down to your toes when you're neck deep in the water. It was just that beautiful. So, yeah, absolutely worth the trip alone just for Half Moon Cay. And then we have one more stop in Nassau in the Bahamas. And the thing was, we went to Nassau for our honeymoon at Sandals. So we were fine just doing like the port that day. We went port shopping. I bought this handcrafted mug, because you get the straw market. Those ladies are aggressive with their handcrafted goods. But yeah, it was a good time all around, getting to know the people there. Birthday was a sea day, which is just no stops. So I got sushi and lobster, so I was happy, obviously. But the big question is, how did I get so much reading done? That was the one that everybody wants to know. How did I get so much reading done? Well, guys, no TV, no Wi-Fi, no video games. It was just we had a spa room. So we had access to the thermal lounge, which is like these heated chairs, which you think, oh, it's been so hot. Why do you want to sit in a heated chair? It does wonders, guys. It's absolutely amazing. I spent hours in those thermal lounges reading. I want to say on port days, I was getting between 3 to 4 hours of reading. And on sea days, guys, I probably got as many as 8 in one day. So it literally was just me and my wife, we would just read. And she's reading First Law, by the way. She started reading First Law on this trip. But we just read. We'd go get lunch. We'd get a drink. We'd read. It was just a dream vacation for someone like myself. So, yeah, it was great. It was just what I needed. I got all that relaxation time. Got all that reading time in. It was just wonderful. And we cannot wait for our next one next year with the kids. We're going to be taking a trip to Roatan, Honduras. That's where we're going to be going on Royal Caribbean this time. So it's going to be very, very fun. And, yeah, I'm never going to have a bad thing to say about cruising. It's a lot of fun. How about some videos while I was gone? I guess I should talk about those. I put out self-published authors that I like to read by this time next year. Just kind of like, hey, these are things that by this time next year, I want to say I have read these authors. Now, it isn't everything self-pub I'm going to read. So, if you're a self-published author and you send me something, don't get discouraged. I just said, I don't want to say I'm going to read these next. I'm not Andrew. I'm not reading the next 25 of these in the next month. I just want to make sure I've got a ton of other things I want to read. But hey, here's 9 books I think I could read by August of 2024. And that's what I'm just saying. That I feel like we need to give self-published authors a lot more of a chance. I feel like myself included, a lot of people just kind of discount them, like they don't even count. And reading these Ryan Cahill books has made me realize, man, you're missing out on some great stuff if you do that. So there's so many good reviews and people out there who are talking about these books. I think you can find something that you like, find out if an author is going to be for you. But I encourage people to discover some self-pub authors and give them some rub. Let them know that you do appreciate what they are doing. I can see why a lot of them are choosing to do it that way now. You get creative control. You get you don't have to get the 14 to 15 month turnaround after you turn in your draft. I understand that you get to release it when you want to release it, and you cut out the middleman most likely. So I think that helps a lot. But I'm actually quite fond of what that genre, I guess that genre, you call self-pub genre, not really genre, but what that market is doing now. They are actually really, really got some quality stuff out there. And I keep saying, I feel it's like a new Iron Age when it comes to self-published books. So that's what I wanted to talk about there. I did my book haul for July. Lots of fun things in there. Broken Binding was way too nice to me. They sent me some just beautiful, beautiful books that I had to show off. Of course, that first law set was basically like I messaged them and said, you made my dreams come true, because I've been wanting that set forever. So thank you so much to Broken Binding for sending those to me. And I did just like a rapid fire thing for my birthday. I didn't want to do another birthday tag. I did a birthday tag last year. So this, I just came up with 45 questions for my 45th birthday. I just mashed up several Q&As, some about books, some about life, and then some about, just advice or feedback for content creators, and just kind of mashed that together and answered them on the fly. Some of them I wasn't able to answer. I just sit there and think about for a while. So I don't know if I gave my best thing, but I'm very, very open and honest about some of those. And I love doing those. I love Q&As. They're a lot of fun, especially when you don't pre-rehearse it and you can just kind of see what happens. I feel like that's your first instinct is usually the correct one, and you'll usually say what you actually mean. And I think that's why I like to do it that way. As for this week plans, I can't say next week plans. This week plans, guys. Look, this is just going to kind of depend on how crazy things are when I get back to work tomorrow. I'm imagining it'll take me about 3 hours to clean up my email. 8 days off work, that's a long, long time. So I will be dipping into that. But I know I'm going to get my July wrap up and my book of the month. I got to get that out there. I would like to do my Gone with the Wind review because I've said that I have had a lot of people ask me, are you going to review Gone with the Wind? Because I know, the optics might not be the best. I have said recently, guys, I am done letting people bully me about books. If you don't like Gone with the Wind, that's fine. I'm not going to not talk about it because it might upset somebody. So I will be doing my review of Gone with the Wind. I don't know if it's going to happen this week. Like I said, it just depends on how big of a mess work is. But that is the plans right now. Hope my voice is a little less shaky by then, because that would make things a lot easier. So I'm drinking my green tea. I'm using the throat lozenges and all that stuff. But it's not sore. It's just tired. That's just what allergies does. Again, I feel like I could do some really good audiobooks like this. But guys, that was what the trip was like, and I hope you guys had an awesome week while I was out. I'm still trying to catch up on all those comments. I did read them. I just didn't have a chance to respond to very many of them yet because there was just so many. You get back, to your life after, 8-9 days of being unplugged from the internet. There's a lot going on that you try to catch up with. And yesterday I just want to kind of make sure I spent a lot of time with my kids because we didn't see them for a week and a half. So that's kind of what happened yesterday. But guys, that was my trip. That was my week. What was your week like? What is happening? What are you guys up to? I would love to know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing, guys. And I will talk to you down below.